Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of AI and its impact on the job market.
Yeah, a lot of fascinating research out there about how AI is changing the game in a whole bunch of industries.
I think when people hear AI, they immediately think of, robots taking their jobs.
Right, and while that's, part of the conversation, it's not the whole picture. This deep dive is really about understanding the nuances of this whole AI revolution. How can we actually see the opportunities in this instead of just being anxious about it?
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess before we jump in, we should probably define some terms. We always hear all this buzz about narrow AI versus general AI. What's the difference and why should we care about it?
Okay, so think of narrow AI as kind of like a specialist. It's really good at one specific task, you know how those recommendation algorithms on shopping websites or streaming services seem to know you better than you know yourself?
Yeah, like they're reading my mind. It's a little creepy.
Right, exactly. So that's narrow AI in action. And it's already woven into our lives in ways we might not even realize.
That makes sense. So it's like a really efficient assistant for very specific jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what about that sci-fi stuff? Is general AI the kind that can learn anything and everything? Is that just a fantasy?
Well, general AI is the holy grail, right? A system that could learn and adapt across a huge range of tasks, just like a human can. But we're not quite there yet. So the real impact right now is happening with that narrow AI, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
Okay, so general AI, that's way down the road.
Yeah.
Narrow AI, that's what we're dealing with right now. So let's get practical here. The research mentioned some pretty mind-blowing stuff that's already happening. I'm really interested in how AI is changing things in finance.
Oh yeah, finance is being totally reshaped. Think about high-speed trading, where algorithms analyze market trends and execute trades super fast, milliseconds. It's crazy. It's totally changed how investments are made. But it's not just about speed either. AI is also being used to assess risk, detect fraud, and even personalize financial advice for people.
Wow, so it's doing it all. Okay, so let's say I work in finance. Am I going to be replaced by a robot?
Not necessarily. Some tasks will likely be automated, data entry or basic analysis, but those human skills are still crucial. We'll probably see a shift towards roles that need a deeper understanding of AI and its outputs.
So less about losing jobs and more about adapting our skills to this new world. And it's not just finance, right? The research talks about AI changing the game in healthcare too.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine AI algorithms that can look at medical images and detect diseases like cancer with incredible accuracy, potentially catching them super early, much earlier than we can now. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. That's a game changer for sure.
And that's just one example, right? There's AI being used to personalize treatment plans, streamline all the administrative tasks, and even assist with complex surgeries.
It's incredible, but it also kind of makes you wonder, how do we know these AI systems are reliable? Especially when we're talking about something as important as healthcare.
Right, and that's a key question. It all comes down to how these systems are built and trained. We got to make sure they're learning from diverse data so they don't end up, perpetuating existing biases that might already be in healthcare.
Okay, so we got to be really careful with that. So we've talked about finance, we've talked about healthcare, but another industry where we're already seeing AI in action is manufacturing.
Totally. Those images of robots working alongside humans on assembly lines, doing stuff with incredible precision and efficiency, that's happening.
It's not science fiction anymore.
Nope, not at all. And think about it. The robots can handle all the heavy lifting, the repetitive motions, and they can even do quality control. And that frees up the human workers to focus on things that are more complex and creative.
So it's like a partnership. Everyone's playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
But what happens to the workers whose jobs do get automated?
Yeah, AI creates amazing opportunities, but it also definitely presents challenges. I think the key is to anticipate those challenges and make sure people have the skills they need to thrive. Think about retraining programs, apprenticeships, and putting more emphasis on STEM education.
So it's about being proactive instead of being afraid of the unknown, right?
Exactly. We need to prepare for a future where AI is just part of the workforce.
Now, another industry that's getting a major AI makeover is transportation.
Oh, yeah. Transportation is being totally transformed.
I think everyone's mind immediately goes to, self-driving cars.
Right. And self-driving technology it's moving fast, but it's not just about cars. AI is being used to optimize traffic flow, manage all the logistics, and even pilot those autonomous delivery drones that we're starting to see.
So it's about efficiency, it's about safety, and creating a transportation system that's just seamless.
Right.
But what about all the people? The truck drivers, the taxi drivers, the delivery people, all those jobs?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. I think this is where we need to get creative with retraining and reskilling. Like maybe some truck drivers could transition into managing fleets of those autonomous vehicles. We got to find ways to integrate human expertise into this evolving world.
So it's about seeing AI as a force for transformation, not as a threat.
Exactly.
Now let's move into an area where AI is already changing how we connect with each other. Customer service.
Customer service, yeah. Think chatbots.
Chatbots are everywhere.
Everywhere. Handling basic inquiries, resolving issues 24/7, right? They give instant support so the human agents can deal with the more complex problems.
Okay, that makes sense from like a business perspective, but what about the human touch? Is there a risk of customer service becoming too robotic?
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. We have to find the right balance. AI can handle the routine stuff, but human agents are still crucial when empathy and understanding is needed, for that personal touch.
Right. It's not about replacing humans. It's about making the human connection even better.
Right.
So we've seen how AI is already impacting all these different industries. But what does it all mean? What are the big takeaways for people and businesses trying to navigate this new world?
The biggest takeaway for me is adaptability is key. Whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur or, a CEO, the ability to learn and adapt, that's going to be what determines your success.
That makes sense. But what does that actually look like? What are the specific things people can do to prepare?
I think, first of all, embrace lifelong learning. The skills that are hot today might be outdated tomorrow, so always be upskilling and reskilling.
So be proactive, figure out what's coming next, and invest in yourself.
Yes, exactly. And second, cultivate those human skills that AI just can't replicate. Things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, and emotional intelligence.
It's about playing to our strengths, the things that make us human.
Exactly.
So we've been talking about how AI is transforming a whole bunch of industries, but it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's really about how we adapt and evolve with it.
Yeah, and one of the most important ways we need to adapt is how we approach learning. The research actually talks about this idea of T-shaped individuals.
Okay, T-shaped individuals. That's interesting. What does that even mean?
Okay, so picture a capital T, right? That vertical line, that's deep expertise in a specific area, like your specialty, your main strengths. But then the horizontal line of the T, that represents broad knowledge and skills across a bunch of different areas.
So it's you're a specialist in one thing, but then you also have some understanding of other stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
I can see how that would be super useful in today's world, especially with AI becoming more and more common.
Yeah, for sure. Imagine a software developer who, is obviously great at coding, but they also know a little bit about design, project management, maybe even marketing. That's a T-shaped person.
Yeah.
They can contribute to a project in all sorts of different ways.
So it's kind of like being a multi-tool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're equipped to handle all kinds of challenges.
So how do we become more T-shaped? Is it just take a bunch of random online courses?
I don't think it's about being a jack of all trades. It's more about strategic learning. First, you got to solidify that vertical line of the T, your main area of expertise.
So you got to keep getting better at what you're already good at.
Right. And then you can start exploring things that complement your core skills or just things you're interested in, like maybe data analysis or design thinking or communication. It's about broadening your horizons,
Yeah, that makes sense. So become well-rounded, but still have that strong foundation in your specialty.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about the role of government in all of this. The research has some ideas on how governments can, manage the impact of AI on jobs.
Yeah, it stresses the need for proactive policies, not just reacting to problems after they happen. Governments need to, anticipate the challenges and put systems in place to help workers who might be affected by automation.
So kind of creating a safety net, but also helping people adapt and thrive in this new environment.
Yeah, exactly. And one idea that comes up is something called Universal Basic Income, UBI.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of UBI. So can you explain, what it is and how it might be part of this?
So UBI is basically the idea that every citizen gets a regular payment from the government, regardless of whether they have a job or not.
It's like a guaranteed income for everyone.
Right, a financial foundation. So even if your job is displaced by AI, you've still got that basic security.
It's a pretty bold idea. I mean, it would definitely address some of the anxieties around job security, but there's a lot of questions too, right? Like, how do you pay for it? What happens to the economy?
Yeah, it's super complex. It's got pros and cons for sure. But I think as AI keeps changing the workforce, these are the kind of big ideas we need to be talking about.
It's about thinking outside the box, finding new solutions. The research also talks about investing more in education and retraining programs.
Oh yeah, that's crucial. We've got to equip people with the skills they need to succeed in a world where AI is everywhere. That could mean government-funded programs, partnerships between businesses and schools, or online learning platforms that are accessible to everyone.
So it's about creating opportunities for people to adapt and thrive.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that I think often gets overlooked in these conversations is the emotional impact of job displacement. Like, losing a job is a really personal thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the money. It affects people's sense of identity, their purpose, how they feel about themselves. And when you feel like you've lost your job to a machine, that can be really tough to deal with.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do we deal with this human side of the AI revolution? How do we support people emotionally?
I think it starts with empathy. We got to acknowledge that this is a really hard thing for a lot of people and offer support systems, maybe counseling, and resources to help people cope and figure out their next steps.
So it's about recognizing that behind all the statistics about job losses, there are real people with real feelings.
Exactly.
And the research also brings up this point about AI potentially making existing inequalities worse.
Yeah, and that's really important. It all comes back to making sure we're developing AI responsibly. We've got to make sure these systems are designed in a way that's fair and doesn't just reinforce the biases that are already out there.
So being careful about the data that's used to train the AI and making sure it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. We want AI to be a force for good.
Okay, so we've talked about skills, we've talked about the role of government, but shifting back to the individual for a sec, how can people manage all the anxiety and uncertainty that comes with such fast technological change?
I think it's important to just acknowledge that those feelings are real. Change is scary, especially when it involves something as powerful as AI.
It's easy to get caught up in all the doom and gloom headlines about robots taking over the world.
Right. But you can't control how technology progresses. What you can control is making sure you're prepared.
So focusing on what you can do, staying curious, and continuing to learn.
Exactly. And remember, you're not in this alone. We're all figuring this out together. Connect with other people, find mentors, join communities. There's so much support out there.
Yeah, build a community and support each other. Now, one thing I've been thinking about throughout this whole conversation is, what if AI creates totally new jobs that we can't even imagine right now?
Oh yeah, it's totally possible. Like, think about the internet. It revolutionized everything and created jobs that didn't even exist before. Like, who could have imagined being a social media manager or an app developer back in the day?
Exactly. So while some jobs might disappear, a whole bunch of new ones will probably be created. It's about embracing the unknown.
Right. The future of work is constantly changing. It's not a fixed point.
We need to be ready to learn new things, use new tech, and basically redefine what work even means.
Exactly.
So we've talked about a lot today, the impact of AI on all sorts of different industries, the societal implications, even the emotional side of things. But one big theme keeps coming up over and over again, and it's that this isn't about humans versus machines. It's about humans and machines working together.
Exactly. The best AI applications will be the ones that combine the strength of both humans and machines.
So we shouldn't be afraid of AI. We should be looking at it as a partner, something that can help us be even better at what we do.
Right, like AI is great at those repetitive tasks or things that need a lot of data or a high level of precision, but humans are still the best at creativity, empathy, critical thinking, solving complex problems.
That's like the perfect team.
Yeah, exactly.
And when humans and AI work together, that's when we unlock new possibilities and create a future that's both innovative and human-centered.
It's about using AI to improve our lives, solve big problems, and create a world that works for everyone.
And the key is to approach AI with curiosity, not fear. Be open to learning and adapting. And remember, we're all in this together. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Before we took a moment there, I asked you to think about, what if AI could take over one of your work tasks? What would you do with that extra time and energy? It's a good way to think about AI as something that helps us, not replaces us.
Yeah, it's a total mindset shift. Instead of worrying about losing our jobs, we can start thinking about how AI can make work better.
Right, make it more efficient. Give us more time to do things we actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And that leads to another question that the research brings up. What if you could ask an AI anything? What would you ask?
Oh, that's a fun one. It really makes you think about what we want from AI. Are we looking for information? Are we looking for advice? Or something even deeper than that?
Yeah. Some people might be super practical, hey, what's the best way to invest my money? Or how can I be more productive?
Right. But then some people might ask those big life questions, what's the meaning of life? Or are we alone in the universe?
Yeah, and who knows, maybe AI could actually give us some interesting answers. Or at least, make us think about things in a new way.
I mean, think about it. AI can analyze tons of data, find patterns that we might miss.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a super smart research assistant.
Okay, so it's about expanding our knowledge, maybe challenging our assumptions. But even if AI can't, solve all the mysteries of the universe, just asking those questions can be really valuable.
Oh, yeah. It's all about pushing the boundaries of what we know and being open to new ideas.
So throughout this deep dive, one thing that's been really clear is that this isn't about humans fighting against machines. It's about humans and machines working together.
Exactly. The best use of AI is when it combines the strengths of both.
So instead of being afraid of AI, we should be trying to work with it, use it as a tool to help us do even more.
Yeah, AI is great at those tasks that are, repetitive and boring for us, things that need a ton of data analysis or, a really high level of precision. But humans are still way better at creativity, empathy, critical thinking, and solving those really complex problems.
It's like each side bringing their own strengths to the table.
Yeah, it's the perfect partnership.
And when we get that right, when humans and AI work together well, that's when we can unlock new possibilities and create a future that's both innovative and, good for humanity.
That's the goal, right? Using AI to make our lives better, solve those big problems, and make sure everyone benefits.
So the key is to approach AI with curiosity and not fear, to be open to learning and adapting. And remember, we're all in this together. This has been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about AI and what it means for the future of work. But the big takeaway is that the future isn't something that just happens to us. We all have a role in shaping it.
Exactly. By staying curious, by being open to change, by learning how to work with these new technologies, we can create a future where AI helps us reach our full potential.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. The future is full of possibilities. So stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay curious.